She was stunned.
Why did you argue that religious services, religious people pose a greater risk of infection than people gathered to argue for defunding the police?
The policies restricted all types of activity in the district.
All types of activity in the district?
Yes, Senator.
Did it restrict mass protests in the district?
I don't believe it said anything one way or another.
Of course it did, because it didn't accept mass protests. If you want to come and protest, defund the police. If you want to support that, argue for defunding the police.
The policies restricted all types of activity in the district.
All types of activity in the district?
Yes, Senator.
Did it restrict mass protests in the district?
I don't believe it said anything one way or another.
Of course it did, because it didn't accept mass protests. If you want to come and protest, defund the police. If you want to support that, that's fine. You can gather en masse, person to person, close up, thousands of people. That's okay. You know the facts. You were a good lawyer. Why'd you lose?
Senator.
Oh, come on, Judge. Don't make me do this. Mayor Bowser was going to mass protests herself personally with thousands of people. At the same time she was doing that, she was prohibiting churches from gathering socially distanced outside wearing masks.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Don't date 9s and 10s, only them. What you guys need to understand is that attractive women...
Same with the chicks that think they're 9s and 10s. Like that other bimbo we talked about in the other video before this one. A bimbo that thinks that she's a 9, a 10, especially a 10, don't date her.
Don't date 9s and 10s, only them. What you guys need to understand is that attractive women, they live in a different world than most people. Imagine living in a world where everyone is nice to you. Everyone holds the door. Everyone wants to do you favors. Everyone is just...
They've never been told no.
Never told no. They can literally do whatever they want.
Yeah.
If I were an attractive woman, I would be a too. I'm not going to lie to you because I'm crazy as it is. So when you're dealing with super attractive women, you just have to understand that they're used to getting their way. Literally.
I don't know what the hell he's talking about. If I was an attractive woman, come on, man. How do you even think like that?
I'm not gonna lie to you because I'm crazy as it is. So when you're dealing with super attractive women, you just have to understand that they're used to getting their way literally all the time. They come with inherent issues, and some of the inherent issues,
That's
guys, hot
simps. Okay, we gotta stop simping because a chick is pretty. Oh, well, you're a queen. You just stop doing that shit, man.
To getting their way literally all the time. They come with inherent issues, and some of the inherent issues, guys, hot girls complain all the time about everything. My coffee's too hot. My salad's too cold. Even if you're walking by a car and a car has like a little aluminum shift to where there's a reflection, they'll be you guys.
Have you ever watched a CNN host hold back tears and say, Trump was right? Watch this.
Glenn Kessler from the Washington Post had a fact check about Joe Biden from earlier this month, noting that Hunter Biden admitted in court in July that he was in fact paid substantial sums from Chinese companies. Kessler wrote, Hunter Biden reported nearly $2.4 million in income in 2017 and $2.2 million in income in 2018, most of which came from Chinese or Ukrainian interests. But this directly goes against what Joe Biden said in the debate in 2020 with Donald Trump. Take a listen.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about what are you talking about? China.
Once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
Come on, man. This should be known information that everybody in the United States should already be up and privy to. Folks act like they've never heard this shit. Joe Biden or the China thing, you know exactly what the hell is going on, and it's all on documentation. It's been documented in court. Like, what are we talking about?
So it's from two different debates, but I mean, Trump was right.
Men don't need you for deep conversations. I mean, after all, we asked you guys in the... Men don't need you for deep conversations. I mean, after all, we asked you guys to name 3 countries, and people scratching their goddamn head. But here's the amazing thing: we don't actually need you to know 3 countries. We will accept you if you know 2 countries, because what we want from you is for you to be a source of calmness, to make sure that we're cared for. And
Gruntle. This is just the reality of it. So women, we're more educated now, and I think that we're furthering our education. So with that being said, we're going to hold off on the baby making. We're going to hold off until we get that great job, really career driven. And
This what we talking about. Don't deal with women who don't want to be women. Don't deal with women who don't want to be women. Career driven. Drive your ass on. You don't want to have babies and do okay. Bet. Fun girls.
Gruntle. This is just the reality of it. So women, we're more educated now, and I think that we're furthering our education. So with that being said, we're going to hold off on the baby making. We're going to hold off until we get that great job, really career driven. And I don't think there's anything wrong with hoping that there's someone either on your level or higher than you.
So, okay.
Let him cook.
All right. So before, right, it was okay when the man made more money to be the one to buy everything, to do, treat you and all this other kind of stuff. And now that you make more money, you can't be that one, right? You can't be the one to pay for the meal and because you're dating down. To me, by this particular study, I have to date down now. What is that?
Let him cook
I
now.
wanted to make more money. If there is a responsibility with making more money, first of all, I don't believe in any of it. But if there's a responsibility that comes with making more money, accept it.
Hot damn it, man.
That's what y'all wanted. You didn't want to be a woman. You wanted to be a man. And then you get stuck with men responsibilities and you don't want that either. What are we doing? I tell you, women, the modern woman is a victim. They've been lied to for the last 60 years and told that that they need to be independent and strong and all this stupid stuff. Oh, go get your money, girl. Go get that bag.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go.
Sick.
Hey, you better wake up.
The immigrants can come into this country and get a stipend, link, a free room and board, free child care, and some of them are getting Social Security. And when my ancestors were released from slavery, they got the clothes on their back, but yet they were told to be happy. So why am I and everyone in this country footing the bill for people who are non-Americans, who don't vote, who don't fight in any of our wars, who've never paid a tax? And we're told that if we say anything, we're xenophobic.
Great question.
Tell me why. Tell us all why. I want to know.
I think it's wrong. I mean, it shouldn't happen, but this is a U.S. immigration system we have that is broken.
As migrants continue to arrive in Illinois, the state is planning to spend an additional $182 million in the next fiscal year on assistance, on top of the $648 million it has already spent.
I think that most Americans know that liberal women are destroying the
You said
family.
women.
They hate men.
Yes.
They hate society
That is
as it
absolutely
is.
false. Sean, do I hate
Even
men?
when
Do I hate
when
you?
they're
You're a
I
pastor.
am.
You are a pastor.
I think that most.
Stop cutting him off. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. These bimbos. Okay, show some respect.
I think that most Americans know that liberal women are destroying the
You said
family.
women.
They hate men. They hate society
That is
as it
absolutely
is.
false. Sean, do I hate
Even
men?
when
Do I hate
even when
you?
they're
You're a pastor.
I am.
You are a pastor distorting God's word for misogyny, for misogynist purposes. What do you mean? How when you say women are just you leave a woman alone in charge of a family and she destroys the family?
We allowed the National Organization of Women Who Hate Men to come in years
You're
ago.
not answering anything
The
that
Women
I'm
Who Live
saying.
group. We left
There's
them
no such
alone.
thing as the National
We
Organization.
left them alone. There is.
That's not.
There
it's
is
not the
an
truth.
order
It's
to
not
life.
true that
It
women
is
are
true.
the women
Liberal
created
women's
a-
policies are
There is
bad
an
for
order to
families.
life.
They're
That's
bad for the
All right,
country.
now I got to take a
They're
break.
bad for America.
The girl that he would have chose when he was a brokey is not going to be the same girl he's going to choose whenever he's up.
There's an element of truth to that, but what I will say is that typically if a girl helped a guy build and she was by his side and she was loyal, men appreciate that type of stuff.
We would like to think so, but that more than likely they don't.
Yeah,
As soon
it's
as they
actually the
touch a little
opposite.
bit of money, they get their confidence up. They don't care. They'll say, I didn't ask you to.
The thing with that is guys aren't going to commit to girls that have an open sexual situation going on. So like, no offense to you, but like you're an OnlyFans. So for a guy, right, to
Look, the exception doesn't make the rule. When a guy gets up, yes, occasionally they will leave, and that's just how it is. But most of the time, that's not. Most of the time, that's not what's going to happen. Most of the time, the guy will stay with the woman that was there with him through the hard times, because that builds value in men. That provides value for men. But sure, there's going to be a couple guys that do leave whenever they become successful. But let's be real. If you're an OnlyFans chick, come on. Come on.
Situation going on. So like, no offense to you, but like, you're on OnlyFans. So for a guy, right, to commit to you is gonna be, even if you build him up and everything else like that, your profession and your status hurts his profession and status.
Period.
How do you deal with a man that is more sensitive than you?
It gets strange for me in conversations like these when we talk about one party being more sensitive, more soft. And a lot of times that kind of boxes men in, and it's alarming, because if a man can't be sensitive and soft in his relationship, then where can he be? Like I don't know too many men that don't want to take their guard down with their old lady. Like I don't want to have to come home and protect myself from you. Like do you know what I gotta go through out in the world, and then to have to come home and go take their guard down with their old lady? Like I don't. I don't know too many men that don't want to take their guard down with their old lady. Like I don't want to have to come home and protect myself from you. Like do you know what I gotta go through out in the world, and then to have to come home and guard and tiptoe with you because I can't be vulnerable? Like even when we use the word soft, bro, a man being hard all the time will destroy him. Get you a man that gotta be hard all the time and see how he handle you. Bro, a man has to find softness in himself to properly handle those parts of you.
Whew. But these are bimbos. They probably didn't have a father in the home, okay? And if they did, it's probably father raised by a single mom, okay? So they don't have that example.
Empathy is like a huge.
You say right now you just won't hire Gen Z employees.
No, we don't. It's been a nightmare with 95% of the ones that we have hired. I once terminated an employee, and her father called me 24 hours later asking how he could help get his daughter's job back.
65% of employers say they have fired a Gen Z employee, and 50% of them say they fired them real recently.
Absolutely, and one of the reasons is social media. It's hard to do your job and work if you're on Instagram all day. Black women in corporate America, how would you know if you've never tried to go above and beyond?
I have tried it.
And it's failed you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, corporate has failed me.
So the problem is there's something called paying your dues. And so when you say it's failed you, how long did you give it? 3 months? 6 months? I think you're failing yourself.
Ooh.
Can I share one gem with you all? Through the years, guys have contacted me when their woman was unfaithful, and the question is, should I carry on with it?
No, you shouldn't.
If they say that they're married and they have kids, I always say, yeah, you should.
No, you shouldn't.
Give it a shot. Try. And they always reach back out and say, oh, man, I just had an argument with her. You know, I was like, what were you arguing about? He's like, oh, man, I asked her, like, was his bigger than mine? And which is to say, the paranoia of the average guy is endless. The other guy she slept with could have been an irrelevant nobody who's a loser, has a bum job, and small meat, right? But the guy who got cheated on, because guys are so petty and ego-driven, was his bigger than mine? Did you do this with him? Did he try this on you? How long did it take? Oh, you slept with him on the first night. You made me wait 3 nights. Do you like him more than me? Guys will never really ever get over that.
Nope. And he shouldn't. There's no
have
reason.
come to be more honest about it.
I mean, get over it from a standpoint of moving on. Absolutely. Don't let it affect you like that. But don't take her back.
Have come to be more honest about my age. But I'm also 36.
Yuck. No, I'm kidding. Do you want kids?
Yeah!
Oh, jeez. I think those eggs are scrambled.
Hey!
And every problem, if the problems your wife brings to you, especially if they repeat, there are levels underneath that. And at the bottom, there's a betrayal.
something like that. There's some bit of hell in there somewhere. And sometimes, if you go all the way to the bottom, every problem, if the problems your wife brings to you, especially if they repeat, there are levels underneath that. And
I told you, if you continue to ask her to do things and she won't do them, you ask her to, and then she's doing things that you ask her not to do. It's done.
At the bottom, there's a betrayal, something like that. There's some bit of hell in there somewhere. And sometimes, if you go all the way to the bottom and you solve that bottom problem, you solve a whole bunch of peripheral problems.
Question: does your 4 languages and you getting accepted into Harvard benefit me if I was your boyfriend?
Yes.
How so?
No.
I am way more mature than
That's relative. Now, let me ask you the question again. Does me having an extensive Jordan collection benefit you?
That doesn't mean you're mature. It just means you're spending
Why
money
you
on Jordan.
comparing-
Look at her fouling it. She's fouling the whole time. Still fouling. Look, she got her hands all on her. Hip check. Lost. Go shoot. She played through the
This
contest.
is one of the best replies of Candace Owens.
I am a feminist. Do you feel that
Hey,
free
Candace
speech is
Owens-
free?
Candace Owens, I'll tell you, she said some good stuff, but I do not subscribe to Candace Owens. I think she's actually a snake in plain sight. She's not a type of person, a type of woman that I would want to spend a lot of time around per se. Is either she's very argumentative, very combative, very masculine, but she does have the right talking points a lot of the times. But I think she just says whatever is basically convenient to say for the most part for that specific audience that she caters to.
For everybody in terms of Western society, at what point does free speech no longer become free?
What do you mean? At what point does it become no longer become free?
Some rhetoric can be harmful to other communities.
Can you give me an example? It's always easier to answer a question.
So, what I know we all are aware of what happened on campus last year.
I'm not.
Great, look it up. So it was just involving the feeling of LGBTQ members of the community feeling unsafe with rhetoric that's being shared in terms of transphobia.
Like if you're a man, I need an example, and someone, like if you're a biological man and someone says, "Hey, what's up, dude?" Yeah, the idea that if somebody looks at a man and calls them a man, that they're suddenly unsafe because they've created a false reality in their own head. I don't abide by that. I think this is what's really happening is that we are celebrating mental disorders in America right now.
That's true. We are celebrating mental disorders. I mean, how many women you know that say, "Oh well, I'm bipolar."
When a man,
I'm bipolar, and I'm all this crazy ass shit. It's like it's cool or something. Like, come on, man, that shit's weird.
We're dealing with a woman. We're dealing with romance. We're dealing with childbearing. We're dealing with you being caring, considerate, and a good listener. So it's a lie when women are like, "Oh, well, what are we going to talk about?" Nothing. Hey, let's fly to Monaco. Oh, aren't those pretty buildings? Yeah, those are pretty buildings. Let's go to a nice restaurant. She's like, "Oh, this restaurant is so fancy. Great. Good food. Fantastic. Let's make love. Let's go to sleep. Wake up. I go to work. You go shopping. Do what you do. Tell your friends. Take pictures. Send them to your mom. Then you come back to me. Rub my back. Make love to me. Do it all over again. Fly to a new country." We're not having deep intellectual conversation. Like, know what your role actually is and the real value you offer to a man. You're deluded if you think a successful man is looking at you as though you're equally yoked intellectually. You're not. Is Elon Musk's wife going in there like, "So, what kind of new batteries are we going to use in the next Tesla?" Right? Like, nah, she don't know a damn thing about that. Is Bill Gates' wife going in there like, "Gee, I looked over your code for your last software deployment, and I think that it has a couple bugs we should discuss." Like, nah, she don't know nothing about that.
Yeah, you don't know nothing about that.
However, when you're talking about doing corn, for instance, what do you think the risk likelihoods increase that they don't end up with happy marriages with traditional men?
I don't know the statistics, so I can't say anything.
Let's just say I were to tell you ridiculous number, like it's 95%. Would you stop doing it tomorrow? The truth.
No.
What if in 10 years, though, you remember that you were on this random podcast with this asshole who told you, don't continue. You could stop now and it'll mitigate risk overnight. And your life's outcome is going to likely be better. Wouldn't it be better to not kick yourself in the ass in 10 years and go, I should have listened to that guy. Instead, just quit.
Well, if that happens, I'll find you and take you out to a nice dinner.
No, you're going to find me, and here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. 10 years, I'll get the phone call, and you're going to say, man, Andrew, you were so right about this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go, I told you, dummy.
Who knows? Maybe it'll go my way, and I'll call you and be like, yo, it worked out, and laugh in your face.
Highly
Why did you
unlikely.
argue that religious services, religious people pose a greater risk of infection than people gathered to?
Highly unlikely, Bimbo.
Women don't understand that men like this kind of thing. Every man likes to be a teacher and leader. The worst thing is when I say, oh, have you been to Dubai? And she's like, yeah, I've been to Dubai like 3 times.
She belongs to the street.
As soon as she says that, I'm like, oh, this is a human porta potty. Why do I think that? Because Dubai is extraordinarily expensive. And I'm pretty well off. And when I get there, after like last time I was there for 2 weeks, I started looking, I was like, God, like I might need to get up out of here. Like everything is very expensive for a person who's well off. So I look at you and you're a 24-year-old girl and you told me you've been to Dubai a couple times? With who? Who's your sponsor?
Period.
With who? And what did you do?
Period. What did you do to get that sponsorship? Okay? How did you earn that scholarship? How did you get that donor? What did you get done to you in order to get what you got and where you got? That's what we think. Oh yeah, we know y'all ain't paying for them trips. We know y'all ain't paying for those hotels. We know y'all ain't buying those expensive meals. When y'all post on Snapchat or whatever the hell you post on, and you got your food all laid out, and then you show yourself here, but then you don't put the man in there. The sugar daddy ain't in there. We sitting there looking like, oh, where? I know she ain't here by herself. You're not fooling anyone, ladies, with this shit.
To get this privilege.
We know what's going on. Haktua.
Politics are an ongoing debate between Azad Ahmadi, member of the Georgia Black Republicans, and his girlfriend Alexandra, a registered Democrat.
So even though you have political differences, it's not a deal breaker. No, it's not a deal breaker.
Beautiful.
In 2008 and 2012, you voted for
Barack Obama.
2016,
I voted for Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton. 2020,
Donald Trump.
Biden. And who will you vote for in 2024?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
My views on certain things have changed. I am very much so riding the fence.
What are you struggling with?
Being in a pattern of doing the same thing that I've been doing. When you go in a poll, you hit Democrat. Something has to happen. I mean, it's just so expensive to survive.
Thank you.
And we're planning on having kids. I don't want to live in a stressful environment trying to.
Well, if y'all plan on having kids, you're going to need to slim down a bit, lady. Take it down a couple pounds now. But I will say this. He played a dangerous game by going into a marriage with a liberal woman. He seems to be making it work, though. So, good luck to them.
Rub 2 pennies together to try to make it either.
Common sense. Trump 2024.
Together because the inflation in the
Anytime I tell a guy that I work at a daycare, he's just like, oh damn, those lucky kids. What I wouldn't do to have be one of your students, what I would do if you were my teacher. And I'm just like, okay. It's always just made into a fetishizing thing.
I don't think you should be offended. I think that's
I'm not
a
offended.
compliment.
It just seems that that's the only reason guys care is because they think it's hot that I'm a little preschool teacher.
No, they find it attractive that you're good at caring for children.
Yeah, they've never said it that way though.
That's not fetishizing to say that. What they're doing is they're trying to give you a compliment and tell you that they think that you're beautiful. They're not trying to fetishize nothing. And so what they do is they take an occupation that you're familiar with and they make an offhand comment like that because it's funny and they think that they can in that way call you beautiful without it sounding sappy.
No, it's just immature. Sorry, boys.
I think it's immature to compliment women at all because you're all just brats about it and finding out that fetish. It's a dead. They just always brat. I wouldn't compliment any of them. It's just always a bad idea.
There you go.
No, this is messed up.
One of the things I see a lot in South Florida are people that have been in this country that maybe came from Cuba 45 years ago. They've worked here their entire lives. They retire. They get $800, $900, $1,000 a month from Social Security. And then they run into somebody who just got here from Cuba 3 months ago, is 29 years old, doesn't work, and is given $1,500 a month in benefits by our government because they're refugees. That refugee, a year later, is traveling back to Cuba 15 times. So you're a refugee fleeing oppression from a place that you now go back and visit 15 times the following year. And in the meantime, we're giving you Medicaid, food stamps, health care for your children, cash payments from the refugee fund. So imagine if you've been working here for 40 years and your social security check is smaller than the benefits going to a 28-year-old able-bodied person who just got here. That's real. That happens. That's happening every day. That makes no sense.
Yikes. Yikes.
There's not a big pool of good men.
That's a lie.
That's not a lie.
That is a lie.
That's not a lie. You tell me.
Listen, there's not a lot of good men who want y'all.
Run it back.
There's not a big pool of good men.
That's a lie.
That's not a lie.
That is a lie.
That's not a lie. You tell me.
Listen, there's not a lot of good men who want y'all.
Period. Look at her. Just nasty. This is a nasty-faced woman. Nasty-minded woman. Just a nasty, nasty woman.
I'm clapping for myself. Where the good man at? Like they hiding under a rock or in a cave. They everywhere. They at the gas station. They at Costco. They at Equinox. They at the bank. They walking right past you and you don't show up on their radar because of the way you are. They're going to walk right by you. Your pretty face ain't going to go too far because everybody's pretty. That's a prerequisite. So if that's all you got to offer, we're not looking at you.
And it's not like she's drop dead gorgeous or just stunningly beautiful. Like she's okay. You know, I'd give her a 5.
But there's plenty good men. They just don't want your ass. I ain't never heard no woman say, that's all you got to offer. We're not looking at you. But there's plenty good men. They just don't want your ass. I ain't never heard no woman say, I know I ain't shit. When have you ever heard a woman admit to not being shit? She'll say, this man ain't shit. He ain't shit. He was bad. He was bad. He was bad. He was bad. But for the most part, every woman think they're a good woman. What makes you a good woman? Who's auditing that you're a good woman? You are auditing yourself. Why don't you ask your exes what they think? Because all your relationships diminished and ended in...
Ooh, all your relationships are diminished and ended in turmoil.
Shit. When have you ever heard of ask you and you don't show up on their radar because of the way you are? They're gonna walk right by you. Your pretty face ain't gonna go too far because everybody's pretty. That's a prerequisite. So if that's all you got to offer, we're not looking at you. But there's plenty good men. They just don't want your ass.
Yeah, plenty good men. They just don't want your ass, and for obvious reasons. You're nasty. You're toxic. You're venomous. You're poisonous. You're mean. You're unruly. You're unpleasant. You're argumentative. You're combative. I mean, the list goes on. You don't take accountability. You don't take fitness seriously. You have a need to be right. You look down on your man, and it's never enough. That's what I'm talking about. This is why the good men avoid women like this. Women like this.
There's not a big pool of good men.
That's a lie.
That's not a lie.
That is a lie.
That is not true. That is not true. That there's plenty of good men out here. Okay? Plenty of good men.
Good men.
That's a lie.
That's not a lie.
That is a lie.
That's not a lie. You tell me.
Listen, there's not a lot of good men who want y'all. I'm clapping for myself. Where the good man at? Like they hiding under a rock or in a cave. They everywhere. They at the gas station. They at Costco. They at Equinox. They at the bank. They walking right past you and you don't show up on their radar because of the way you are. They're going to walk right by you. Your pretty face ain't going to go too far because everybody's pretty. That's a prerequisite. So if that's all you got to offer, we're not looking at you. But there's plenty good men. They just don't want your ass. I ain't never heard no woman say, I know I ain't shit. When have you ever heard a woman admit to not being shit? She'll say, this man ain't shit. He ain't shit. He was bad. He was bad. He was bad. He was bad. But for the most part, every woman think they're a good woman. What makes you a good woman? Who's auditing that you're a good woman? You are auditing yourself. Why don't you ask your exes what they think? Because all your relationships diminished and ended in...
Yeah. We're going to end it right there. Speaking of ending. Man's our review. On that note, we through to the next video. Y'all know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you on the next one.